The skies were heavy and brooding the night the death angel first met him, a young man clutching the lifeless hand of his father, tears shining like stars on his cheeks. He had been kind then too, even in his grief, whispering soft goodbyes into the swirling winds that swirled like shadows around the death angel's form. The angel had watched him for what felt like fleeting centuries in mundane mortal terms. He was just another assignment, another page written in the eternal ledger of mortality. And yet, there was something about him that the angel couldn't forget. You see, the death angel wasn't supposed to linger, wasn't supposed to watch. His task was simple: arrive, escort souls past the veil, and leave. But this man was different. By the time the angel realized it, years had passed, decades even, and he had found himself tracing the man's life like a secret admirer, invisible and infinitely quiet but undeniably present. The man, now gray-haired and wearing a gentle smile carved by years of sorrow and joy, caught onto the lingering presence in the room one evening. He was fixing himself a cup of chamomile tea. It was his ritual now, a softness he gave himself before sleeping. And then as the steam curled between the blinds and faded into darkness, the man spoke without looking up.
"I've felt you before," he said, lightly stirring sugar into his tea. "Not always, but sometimes, like wind brushing too close to the curtains that never move."
The voice startled the angel because it was addressed to him. Angels aren't meant to be addressed. They exist unseen, silent reapers on the edges of mortal awareness. And yet the man's words carried gentle acceptance, surprising in its clarity. "You were there when my father left," the man continued, his voice like settling clouds. He set his spoon down carefully, deliberately. For a moment there was only muffled silence. Then he added, "And now I see you when I look into mirrors tracing my own end." The angel manifested before him for the first time, breaking millennia-old rules of invisibility, his face pale as moonlight and adorned with celestial unease. No one had ever caught him before. "You're not afraid?" the angel murmured, the question emerging without thought. The man looked up, smiled faintly, and said, "Why would I fear you? You take away pain." And something inside the death angel shifted. A ripple, a crack that led to vast, unknowable depths. People didn't speak to death this way. Even mortals who wore bravery like coats abandoned their poise in front of the reaper. But something about his voice, his tenderness, anchored the angel in place despite the pull of duty and eternity itself. From that night onward, they spoke often under the guise of impossibility. Most mortals wouldn't dare communicate with the inevitable agent of their demise, but this man, with words like relief, like kindness beneath swaying breath, did. His warmth filled the angel's eternity with strange human light. For an angel who dealt so much in silence, this companionship was nothing short of earth-moving. When the man told stories, he spoke as if his words were ribbons unraveling generations of memories, stories of his losses, of fleeting joys. He carried sadness, but he wore it gently, like soft armor polished by resiliency rather than regret. The death angel came to know his faults, his vulnerabilities, not as failings, but as truths that tethered him more firmly to life. But life itself was cruel. Life slipped by, years marching forward with cold inevitability. And one day the angel saw a new inked page appear in the universal ledger, the man's name. The binding of the book shook in unbearable weight for the first time. The angel knew what was expected of him, but he couldn't bring himself to fulfill it. The man wasn't just any mortal now, not to him. The angel wasn't just keeping the boundary between life and death. He loved the man. Entire realms, celestial whispers carried between stars and sacred light said love was impossible for death angels. It was forbidden by design. They existed only as impartial guardians of mortality, yet within the vast ellipsis between days, the angel would do anything but let this man die. The angel disobeyed. He reached his hand to the ledger and tore apart the entry, an act that reverberated through the unseen world. For the first time in history, a death angel prevented the eventual. He allowed fate meant to guide inevitability to shatter like fragments beneath his trembling wings. This act, this defiance, was lonely, yet powerful. The other death angels sensed it, his defiance against something larger than himself. They were powerful, immutable beings, creatures tied to the threads of fate itself. To commit such an act meant punishment, exile, banishment beyond even the veil. Yet the angel carried the priceless forbidden wound in his chest. Love, what have you done? a fellow angel whispered one night, appearing next to him like a mirrored shadow. Their face was expressionless, but sorrow poured through their gaze. "I spared him," the angel said quietly. "You're love-struck over something finite," the fellow angel said, their tone neither cruel nor kind, but heavy with warning. "He will die again someday, as all mortals do." "I don't care," the angel replied with an intensity that surprised his own heart. "Even if the world shatters under me, even if time unravels, I won't let him go." But refusal came at a cost. The angel had been able to keep watch over the tears of worlds, but now that balance began to break. Strange storms passed in the mortal realm. Stars burned faintly like flickering candles. Dimensions faltered, their internal mechanisms prone to stumble without the release of souls into the afterlife. Every death denied caused ripples. Every ripple grew heavier. As the man's life continued, the angel saw the cracks widening, flaws appearing in existence itself. Mortality couldn't survive without its endings. Closures were part of its meaning. The unspoken rules of their reality began tugging at the fabric of the angel's rebellion. There was only one remedy. The angel, whose invisible heart beat like lightning against restrictions, was now faced with the reality that he couldn't be both. A keeper of cosmic order and fiercely protective of singular human existence. But his love for the man had shaped him into something new, something that defied celestial law and mortal understanding alike. Their final moment came again, but this time it was different. Not fated, not ruled by blind celestial law. The angel arrived beside the man's bed in his final illness, radiant and shaking. He came as the reaper, yet somehow also as a lover, death's hand held gentle now. The old man, thinner than sunlight and weaker, looked up at the presence beside him but smiled faintly anyway. "You don't need to be afraid for me. I've never been afraid of you," he murmured. His human fingers barely brushed against the angel's flawless robe. The angel lowered himself, tears forming for a soul that, unlike everything else he'd encountered throughout millennia, had redefined him. "You made me question everything," the angel whispered. "I will hold you in eternity, even if it means this bitter sacrifice." The man laughed lightly, not mocking, but thankful. Words passed like leaves crossing streams. "Life gave me you, and now I give myself back to the wind." When the moment came fully, both worlds cracked briefly before they reset. The man passed away, a thread cut in the cosmic weave, but his soul lingered for just another gust, touching the angel's form before vanishing like soft candlelight. The angel returned to silence, carried him in memories unlike shadow. In rebellion, the love endured, a small rebellion against infinity, but meaningful. A love death-shaped yet paradoxically life-defined, eternally precious.